Let's go.
Oh, I have to extend the back. Whoops.
Technical difficulties.
Oh, even more.
That's the wrong host. There we go. All right. Good evening. It's Monday, which means it's time for Enterprise at 8, assuming we can figure out which camera's which. Anyway, this is Live Long and Podcast Star Trek Enterprise rewatch series. It's been around 20 years.
20 years?
That's right, Trip. 20 years since tonight's episode Hatchery first aired, but we're just getting started here at Enterprise at 8. I'm Jody Simpson, and not with me is my co-host Adam Woodward, because he decided he was more important to not be here.
He didn't know what city he was in.
He didn't even know what city he was in at the time, so that's fine. He's traveling for work, so we're hopefully, he gets back safe, and we see him next week.
He was like, I forgot it was Monday. I'm like, yeah, it's every 7 days, Adam.
Every 7 days. It's amazing, eh? It's almost like
every
clockwork.
week starts with a Monday.
Well, it depends on who you ask, because some weeks start with Sundays.
No, if you ask assholes, it starts with Sunday.
That's true. I
ask
agree.
a normal
I didn't know
person.
that one. I didn't know that.
Anyway, joining just me and not Adam is tonight's Live Long and Podcast awesome producer and the man who wouldn't put the welfare of a few Zindi behind his own people, Dave Bader.
We can't leave these children to die. There's rules even in war, Jody.
It's true. There is rules in war.
We gotta save these bug kids.
These bug kids, yes. I must be Ant-Man. And then, of course, who could forget the man who doesn't throw morality out the window when things start getting a little rough? Kevin Millard.
I throw it out the window well before that.
That's right. Because that's the right way to do it. Anyway, tonight's episode is Hatchery. This is the 68th episode. We're almost on the magic number 69. Of the series. And this episode is about Enterprise finds a derelict Zindi insectoid ship carrying a cache of unhatched eggs, and Archer takes an increasingly obsessive interest in preserving them.
I wish I just had a Trip saying every random number like 69. Like, I wish
69.
if I ever meet Connor Trenier, I think that would be my request.
That would be pretty pimp.
Do all the numbers, please.
Just all the numbers, like in complete exasperation. Like you're completely incredulous as to how this could be.
We
like,
can always send him a message and see if he'll do it. Like he does his own pod, so
if anything, I can get him on Cameo, and I could get him to do it there.
Actually, the two of them did a really good pod. They had Riker on in the last pod, so that was good.
Frakes?
Yeah, Frakes is on there telling stories and stuff, so it's quite nice. Anyway, what do we think of this episode, guys?
You know what? It's fine. I think that, as we're going through this, I'm like, this season is just so long for this story,
Well, the arc is only like a 7-episode arc, so they had to kind of like really drag it out a bit.
Right.
So it's like, and again, on our way to go to on
our 3-week
Red
trip
Giant, we're now
to Azadi Prime. It's like a 3-week journey, so we have time for the doctor to hallucinate, and we have time for this, and I don't think
for mutinies and a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah,
the episode's not bad. I just feel like in the scheme of the season, because this is just the way they were doing television at the time. Yeah. It's like, okay, fine. I get that this story was necessary or even like a good thing for this season, but I'm just like, can you get to where you're going already?
Like can we get there? Which, by the way, I believe is next week. I think we actually get there.
This episode, I would have liked it much better if he hadn't been infected with something, and he was just making the case for helping these insectoid kids and made all the same arguments. And the crew was again. I would have liked that so much more than he's their den mother. Like,
mother time. I like that. That's good. Thank you, Regine.
Is Adam in Newfoundland? No, he's not in Newfoundland.
No,
different part of the country.
No, we don't wish that kind of thing on him. The week starts on Sunday, Kevin.
Sam.
Oh, that's it. You're done, Sam. You're now canceled. You're Kevin canceled. That's the worst kind of canceled.
Hello from Brazil.
Well, hello from Brazil. I think you're the first Brazilian we've gotten. Other than Kevin on Sundays, but that's a whole other situation.
Jeff would never come on this. He's never even watched an episode.
Jeff doesn't even. Does Jeff even go on anything anymore? Like, I don't know. Do we ever see him on anything?
Sometimes he comes to the Deep Space Nine podcast.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good. Considering he founded it, but
yeah. And what's wrong with Newfoundland? Did you say something about Newfoundland?
Number one, the week starts on Sunday, apparently.
It also starts on the half hour. You gotta have to have the half hour time zone.
You know what? It's fine, Sam. Everybody has their own way of doing things, and there's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, let's get with the program here, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah. Let's maybe this one.
That one's not too bad.
This one or this. Let's do this one.
Okay. That one. All right.
All right. So, Enterprise in space. What's going on? They find a planet. Magnify. They find a crashed insectoid ship. Doesn't look like it's got any energy. There's no other ships around. They don't know what's going on.
What would have been better is if they had found a Xindi insectoid settlement that was also the Old West.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
And they're all cowboy insectoids.
The problem is, though, Kevin, is you can only do one cowboy episode a season, and they've already done it.
So, well, maybe I got my hopes.
Maybe next season. Maybe
they're riding big ladybugs around or something.
Like in Futurama when they're on Mars.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah, riding big ladybug things. Yeah.
Yeah. So the teaser is pretty quick. They found a crashed insectoid ship. Let's go credits.
We found something. It's crashed. And roll credits. Yeah.
Yeah. These teasers. I don't even know why they bother with teasers on this show sometimes. Because
the teaser is. We're still not any closer to our objective.
We're still
run the credits.
Yeah, if you're here to find out what's going on with the will Earth be destroyed, you'll find a little bit about that, but not too much.
You're waiting.
Yeah, you wait another week.
Exactly. Well, they had to have time to give us that lengthy recap of the Xindi arc. That
they did.
We see like every episode now.
Yeah, because every episode they're like, nobody's going to remember that Major Hayes and Malcolm don't like each other. Nobody's going to remember this part.
Not only that, but they put them on a shuttle together this time. Like, what was it, last week or the week before when they're basically beating the hell out of each other?
I never see that. They must cut that out on Crave.
Yeah, it's in the episodes I have, and it's always given like this pretty lengthy intro. Anything to do with the Xindi now, and
it's like it's all the way to like the first or second episode of this season, so it's like really far back. Like they show you stuff you don't need to know.
Then this show is a pioneer because this is what all shows do now.
That's true.
When they're coming up, they'll like go way.
Well, everybody
back.
talks about how like Game of Thrones episodes were so long. It's like, yeah, but the recap was like 10 minutes on each one of them.
and like I always want to skip those recaps, and Jane always wants to watch them. She's like, no, I don't remember. I'm like, no, like can we just get into it?
I've already seen this, Jane.
Because the recaps are almost like a teaser for what the episode's going to deal with,
Right.
Because this beat. I'm just like, I want to be a little surprised.
I understand the concept of why they wanted to see this, because maybe they can get a hold of some of the technology and find a way to fight them. Blah, blah, blah. I get that. That's fine. But it's a weird episode.
Yeah, they spend quite a bit of it in these encounter suits. Ironically, the second they take off the encounter suits, that's when Archer gets infected, basically.
Yeah, I never understood that logic. It's like, there's breathable air. Let's take off our protective helmets.
Is it ironically or totally predictably?
Well, you're predictably, right. They always do it. They always want to take off their helmet, and often it goes bad for them. And if they left the helmet on, they would be fine.
Yeah.
But the real answer is they don't want the actors to have to ADR all their lines after the fact, so they're trying to cut down on that.
So we got some nice CG Xindi there.
We find some dead Xindi insectoids.
I did like the little conversation that Malcolm was having though, where his dad actually collects bugs.
Yeah,
and then Trip's like, wow, maybe we can take one of these back for him. It's like, okay, what's he gonna do? Put it over the fireplace? Yeah. Like the things are huge.
The insectoids are so different than the other Xindi species, to the point that I'm like, it's weird.
Well, they always have to be CG too, right?
They have to be, them and the aquatics.
So thin and the aquatics are CG too.
But like, I'm like,
you don't have much aquatics though.
No, well. They can only interact with us so much, but
they're the Aquaman of the Xindi. Like
they really are.
Yeah.
And these are like the Spider-Man or the Ant-Man of the Xindi. Anyway, like it just I always find them. I'm like they're so alien to the other Zindi that it surprises me that the other Zindi are like, let's all be in this Council of Doom together. But anyway, they're all share a homeworld, so I guess that's their bond. And they're going through the ship. They're trying to figure out what's going on. Andre Bormanis and Mike Sussman wrote this story, by the way. Michael Grossman directed it.
Michael Grossman has directed a bunch of episodes, from what I remember.
Yes, I can figure out which ones for you. But anyway, they're kind of going through the ship. One thing I found interesting was the Makos have their own encounter suits that are different than the Starfleet encounter suits. We see what
I like that though, because if they're
Hayes.
using the same suits, then number one, you can't differentiate between them all, which I kind of want to be able to differentiate, but it also makes sense because they were just kind of thrown on this ship, and so they would have had to bring their own gear, right? So, and from what I can tell, they only have enough suits for the main cast, so it's not like they have stockpiles of these suits kicking around. So,
yeah, I know. Well, it was a choice. Like this is an episode. They're like, okay, we have to put a Mako in a suit. Are we going to give him a new suit? And they chose to give him a new suit. So.
Yeah, I like his suit better than theirs.
But. His suit, yeah, I don't have a great shot of it.
Well, he's in the background most of the time, so you don't really get a good shot to begin with, right?
Right. He doesn't say anything in these early scenes.
But I didn't even realize it was him. I thought it was just some generic Mako for a while. Like I knew there was a Mako there, but I didn't realize it was Hayes.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, they're like, they get trapped in this compartment, and then they're like, oh, there's a breathable atmosphere. And this is where Malcolm's like, oh, it's kind of stale. I'm like, maybe you shouldn't breathe it.
Yeah, maybe you should just put back on the suit. You're breathing just fine before that.
Just because it's oxygen and nitrogen doesn't mean that that's all there is.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true.
Plus, I'm sure, like, I don't know if the insectoids smell. I would imagine they do.
Probably, yeah.
But anyway, to us. There's some CG flashlights in this that I don't think totally hold up.
They were pretty bad, yeah. They were bad. I remember seeing that.
Yeah. Oh, there's one of Major Hayes' suit.
There you go. But it's so dark you can really barely
it's
tell.
Like the Starfleet ones are almost like have like this baseball cap effect at the top, and his is more like a miner's helmet.
Like a miner's helmet, yeah.
Yeah. And a different kind of material and coloring, of course, too.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they call up Archer and Hayes, come find us, and he catches up, and then this is kind of where a lot of this episode will be stay. Was that comment?
Hayes, the forgotten character of the season. It's very true.
Yeah, well,
we see him once in a while.
Like a lot of these Makos, but like, I think we've seen at least 20 Makos and like different people, and
Hayes is one of the only one that's consistent. Him and the guy who's played by
Daniel Day Kim.
Yeah, we see him a couple
Corporal
times.
Chang. We haven't seen him in like 10 episodes.
No, we haven't. Yeah, we've seen Hayes, but we haven't seen many else. Yeah,
there was that one that like Trip was flirting with and doing the stuff with. She didn't.
Hayes has tons of lines though in this episode, which is good.
Yeah, he has a lot to do. Anyway, guys, they find this hatchery, hence the name of the episode. It's where all the eggs are, and this is where Archer first says we gotta try to save them, because apparently we see that the insectoids killed themselves, so they gave up their life support in order to save the hatchery. And
yeah. Oh,
sorry. Actually, yeah, Mako Hayes' suit does not look good there as much, but.
It's got to be the lighting. Everything about Hayes is awesome.
Okay, it must be.
Especially when he decks Malcolm.
This is also, I got a couple shots here when Archer gets infected with this stuff.
Well, we're not supposed to know that he's infected with anything. He just got sprayed and it was a defensive measure, right?
It was almost like Ghostbusters. He slimed me. Save me some of that slime,
Yeah.
He gets hit in the face, and yeah, like it's kind of anybody who's seen Star Trek knows that this is probably going to do something to him.
Yeah. I wonder why he's acting so rash later in the episode. I wonder why. Yeah, exactly.
It's almost impossible that it wouldn't matter. This wouldn't matter. This is what turns him into the bug daddy, as they say.
I like your new bassy voice, Dave.
I don't know what's going on. Like I was just all of a sudden,
You just all of a sudden got it, eh?
I got it like really bassy. Yeah.
You're listening to the sweet sounds of Dave Mater.
Exactly. Fox checks out Archer.
And then he's like, let me rub cream on you because that's what I do.
I got it. Would you like an analgesic cream? You know?
Would you like me to rub stuff on you?
I'm pretty sure I got the doctor. Where's he? On my soundboard, doctor. Oh, is he the doctor? He might be the doctor.
Could be. Could be Phlox as well. We've come
Oh,
to
yeah, this is Phlox. At least take. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Anyway,
I'll play this one.
I'll see you in sickbay.
There we go.
Ooh, that's not even the same doctor.
I know. I just
It'll
gave
work.
up and
It'll
I
work.
was feeling rushed.
He's like,
So-
I'm so pressured. I have to play
Doctor-
something.
That doctor even has an analgesic cream
It's true.
line.
I know. I could have pulled that.
Yeah, you could have pulled that.
I'm pretty sure.
Anyway.
I thought I had like a line where like the EMH says, "Would you like an analgesic cream?"
Yeah,
But I
because
don't.
he said it before in Voyager. Yeah.
But apparently I don't. Anyway, so
They decided to bring the shuttle. They found a shuttle as well. So they
Yeah.
decided to bring that back.
I love the look of the shuttle. Looks like an insect. Like a
oh yeah,
praying
they're dragging the ship back, and they're also.
Oh, I
they got
never even
the-
noticed that. Yeah, it's got like these weird little leg things on it.
Yeah, when it's sitting in the really notice it when it's sitting in the shuttle bay.
Oh, I never noticed it. Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
they're dragging it behind them here. They have the two dead Xindi insectoids in like the compartment there with them, and they fall off, and Hayes has to like go and he kicks them like to make sure that they're dead.
I loved that though. He's like, just making sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good scene. This one.
Hayes is a good character. I like Hayes.
Yeah, he's got his gun out and he's just waiting for them to move, and he's like, "Are you gonna shoot me, Major?" You know. He's like, "No, I wouldn't shoot you. I thought about it, but I wouldn't." shoot you."
I wouldn't waste my bullet. I'm just gonna deck you a couple times like I did
You
last
should've
time.
just said, "We'll see how this trip goes. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. Roll the dice."
All right, reminding us that these two have tension. And then
I'm not sure why they're on the same shuttle together, but all right.
Archer told them to cut it out and get their shit
That's
together
true, yeah.
last time and put their differences behind them and all that stuff.
And of
It
course,
wouldn't be a
then
problem.
Malcolm has to insinuate that he's being a dick, right? Yeah, because Malcolm's a dick.
Yeah, I think was it in this conversation or maybe it comes later where Hayes is like, "Hey, I think we need to have more training for your senior officers."
Yes,
And I think and Malcolm's like, "What about movie night?" You know,
he's
and
like, "Oh, Tucker won't like that. That's movie night."
he's like, "Well,
he's
maybe
like,
he can
"Well,
give
I-
up movie night to help save Earth."
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. And
yeah,
as
save
soon-
civilization, asshole. Yeah.
As soon as they start talking about this, I'm like, "Oh God, can we stop with Malcolm being such a bitch all the
He is a
time?"
bitch.
Like, I just don't like the bickering. But I don't like the bickering between the two of them. It's irritating. I don't find it interesting.
But it's always Malcolm
at all.
that's triggering.
It's always
it.
Malcolm starting it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's always Malcolm triggering it. Because
And-
Malcolm's a bitch.
And yeah, they got a lot at stake here. They need to like put that all sort of to the side, you know. Anyway, but they come. This is the scene here where Trip and T'Pol come to talk to Archer. Like, hey, we're like we can maybe fix this ship. We were
Yeah.
going to Azadi Prime if you remember, and Archer is like digged in. He's like, no, we have to help these kids. We need to help these eggs, these insectoid eggs, and stop and turn around. And Trip in particular is like, this is the stupidest thing you've ever.
Yeah, like this is really not a good idea. And like eventually he just sits back down on his console and he's like, I don't care, I've made my decision. Like,
Yeah, like
shut
just
up and go do it. Basically,
even T'Pol's kind of like, I think we're being a
T'Pol's
little-
got a little bit of a kind of looking on her face, like.
Well, I think Archer
makes.
makes a good point. He's like, if we found a ship with 30 Xindi primate infants, we would probably not leave them alone, leave them there.
Yeah.
Right. But because they're insects, therefore we're less sympathetic, I guess, as
Yeah.
humans. If they had found like 30 reptilian eggs, I think this would be the same conversation. But, if they were already hatched, I think that there maybe is a little bit of a difference. But anyway, yeah, he's just got, yeah, you're right. He just sits down. He goes, that's my decision. Those are my orders. Go do it. And that's it.
Well, and at this point, like he's clearly not acting like he normally acts. So like at this point, they should have already had like the red flag up. They should have already been like, maybe we need to check on him a little bit harder. He did get spit with alien goo, and
True.
maybe something's wrong. Like you would think that at this point they would, but neither one of them are. They're just like, oh, okay, he's just kind of irritated.
Like, I look, what he's saying makes sense. Like
it's true
from a certain perspective. He's like, does Indy think we're ruthless? Let's show them we're not, and let's show them we're better, and that's a good thing.
But you're also assuming that the Zindi actually care. Like the Zindi would look at that and go, oh, okay, they're being sympathetic. No.
Right. No, probably not.
Probably not.
Especially the insectoids.
Like your odds are probably not.
But anyway, so go here.
Oh, there you go. That's what Kevin was talking about.
It looks like a cicada.
It does look like a cicada. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. Yeah, I like that. That's neat. I never noticed that.
Tripp complains about the chairs, that they're kind of weird. He's like, these are very uncomfortable chairs. And Mayweather says, maybe they're comfortable for insectoids.
Yeah, good old Mayweather with all that crowning wisdom that he has.
Yeah, quite the insight there.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, yeah. Like,
better go fix some more transporters there, bud.
Yeah. Anyway, they're trying to get this shuttle back online, but then it kind of takes all the power out, the lights out here. Later on, there's a scene in the mess hall where they're trying to figure out things. It's Reed and Mayweather and Tripp, and basically they're mostly complaining that they're even stopping to do this at all. Like they're like, I can't believe Archer is even getting us to do this.
Well, and the funny thing is they have the exact same opinion that we do, which is, why are we stopping and doing this crap when like the fate of Earth is in question here? Like, it's time to just like haul ass directly there. Like, do not stop, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Just get your ass out of there. You know, like,
get to Azadi Prime, figure out where the Earth destroying weapon is.
You know that thing that you're supposed to be looking for. Not the like alien babies that really does not matter in the grand scheme of things.
It does and it doesn't, you know. But it's kind of like there's a bigger picture.
I'm with Tripp. This is a total waste of time.
But then Tripp then defends Archer here. He's like, listen, you don't be talking about my boyfriend Archer like that. Like he's a good guy, you know.
He would be rubbing me if T'Pol wasn't.
Yeah, we were thinking about taking a Vulcan neural pressure therapy together. Anyway, in water polo. Anyway, so that kind of gives, like, he kind of gets defensive of Archer at the end of the scene, even though he starts off with complaining about this whole thing too. But as the other two start joining in, he's like, shut your mouth. Only I could talk about him like that. Then we get this scene here in sickbay with they're doing the autopsy on the full-grown insectoid bodies they found. And I just like how Phlox is having so much fun with this. It's like science.
I also think it's funny that Phlox is the only person that has enough brains in his head to realize that he should have a shield on while he's doing this. It's like,
yeah, in case I get sprayed with some kind of insectoid goo, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It might help.
And Archer didn't even wash it off his uniform.
No,
it's still there. Archer's UN child ambassador.
Yeah. But we also find out the insectoids that they only live like 10 or 11 years or something. Like
he said
12 years.
10 to 12 or something. Yeah.
12 years.
Oh no, this one was 10 years old, so he was considered an elder.
Yeah, he was coming towards the end of his life anyway. Or no, we find out they also don't have genders. They're completely non-binary.
They're all asexual,
all asexual. And what else was mentioned here about these?
This show was woke before woke was cool.
Yeah, there are life forms that are like asexual for sure.
Of course.
And he's like,
he's got a face shield on.
So he's wrapping up his little report of the autopsy here, and he's like, "Hey, Captain, maybe you want to go to sleep or something, and get some rest." And he's like, "Shut the hell up and let me know what's going on with the autopsy and stuff like that."
Like, there's red flag number 2. Like Phlox, this interaction with Phlox should be like, maybe something's going on with him.
I'm used to him being angry and yelling, but just about going to bed.
Yeah.
Sam says Star Trek was always woke.
True story.
True.
Yeah, most of the time.
Depends depends if you're using woke in a good sense or bad sense.
In its time, like in each series' time, yes, it was.
Yeah.
I feel like the woke has been co-opted as a bad word now, but
Whatever.
Well, it depends on who it is, I guess. But
it depends how who's using it and how it's being used, but it's mostly it seems to be a word weaponized.
Look, the important thing is the week begins on Mondays. That's all you need to know.
True.
After it officially starts on Sundays.
Well, and the funny thing is, Sam then recounted, and he's like, "The work week starts on Monday." Okay, well then that's the start of the week.
The work week.
I don't care. It's the week.
Right. No.
I will fight all those Newfoundlanders. I will.
Yeah, well, they're on the half hour, Jody.
One by
so
one.
It's
One by one.
completely different. They have 7.5 days in their week.
True. Yeah. Well, it's more like 7 and 5 hours.
Right.
Or something like that. Yeah.
Anyway, so this is the scene here where Archer's trying to get Trip to fix the engine where the hatchery is here, and then stuff starts just blowing up. The power they have to pull the plug, and Archer's like, "What the hell, man? We're trying to fix this thing." And
I'm trying to grow some babies here.
And Trip's got this boss he just can't please, no matter what he does, and he's just like, "Why are we even doing this?"
Yeah.
Archer's getting more and more covered with slime and goo on his uniform as the episode goes. Oh, and then we get the first baby insectoid here, which is
I think they did a pretty good job of that, though. They almost went Disney on that. It's almost
like
cute.
A Bug's Life.
Yeah. Yeah. Archer calls emergency medical emergency.
So at this point, look at Archer. Anybody who can see Archer clearly knows there's a problem with him.
He seems a little
Why
unhinged.
are they not? Well, not only that, but he's got weird shit on his face. He's sweating bullets. My God, man.
But he's not doing anything that's true. It's not until he wants to give up all the antimatter that the crew's finally okay, we're taking this way too far.
They're like, whoa, wait a second. We're not siphoning the tank.
We need antimatter.
Yeah, we're not siphoning the tank. We don't have an intergalactic hose here.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, even when he calls the medical emergency, Trip's really a medical emergency? And
Or a little bug that flew across the room. What?
Even picks him up here. He's like, I tried everything I could, Captain. Flock says.
I tried to give him mouth to mouth, but I ended up eating part of him. Sorry about that.
Yeah. And then this is, they're all kind of
have you considered a shower?
Maybe
a change of clothes.
He gets a call here from Trip, and he's like, yeah, it's gonna take 3 more days to fix this. He's like, do it, fix it, whatever you have to do. To the point where Archer almost wants to have a funeral for this dead bug.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he wants to figure out what their ritual rites are, right?
He's like, let's see if we can find their funeral rituals and have a proper send off. I'm like, it's what he's saying again is the humanitarian thing to do, is the noble thing to do.
But this is also another red flag. How many times do they need to be told in this event that there's something wrong with Archer? It's remarkable how blind they are in this. But anyway, I guess it wouldn't be that interesting if we cut it. In 10 minutes, right?
I like how the episode slowly it's a series of slow cuts, right? Where he's just getting more and more invested in this, and the more they get weirded out by it. They're like, I guess what he's saying kind of makes sense. But then they have this meeting in the command center. It's Trip and Reed and T'Pol, and this is where
the thing that bugs me. Why isn't there a Mako's presence here? This is a war thing at this point. There should be the Makos should be part of every single one of these meetings.
Well, the thing is, we see in this episode shows that the Makos and the Starfleet crew don't really it's kind of an improper chain of command here, because really the Makos only report into Archer.
That's it. Yeah, they don't listen to anybody else.
And if Archer goes corrupt, they're kind of his own little private army on the ship.
Essentially, yeah.
It's kind of an issue.
Crazy.
Which is kind of thing. Anyway, so they're like, well, he's gonna basically in that conversation, he wants to take the antimatter, a third of our antimatter, and give it away. And T'Pol's like, I will go talk to him. Don't worry. I'll go do the first officer thing. She comes in here. I think this is after she sees like there's 2 armed guards outside of the place, you know, two Makos. She's like, hey, why are there 2 Makos like guarding this? He's like, just in case, who knows? Aliens might try to attack these babies, and if they do, we can't have that happening, you know. And then the whole part where he grabs her by the arm here and like pulls her across the room was like,
yeah, like that. Another red flag.
Something
like,
he wouldn't
that's
normally
something
do.
He normally does.
Yeah.
Like
that's not something he normally would do, even if she was
well, and
questioning
if you
before.
look at the look on her face, like she's like, what the hell? Like this isn't what you normally do. So like it's kind of weird that like this is happening even.
Yeah,
So.
but he gets getting defensive.
I don't know much about Vulcan ethics, but humans don't throw morality out the window when things start getting a little rough.
Kevin does.
No, I've already thrown it
Before.
out the window. I am
Before.
no longer in possession of morality by the time that
Nice.
eventuality starts.
Yeah.
Right. And here Archer, like she was like, I won't obey that. Or T'Pol says, I will not follow your order. And she just gets so mad, and he's just like, Hayes, take her to her quarters and confine her. You know, and he's like, sir, you know, like, huh? And he's like, you heard me. Get her the hell out of here. So she goes with him. And even like these 2 other Starfleet guys who are in the background, they're like, that was kind of weird. And then he looks over, they're like, we'll go back to doing whatever we were doing here. And it kind of ends this kind of awkward moment here. There's a kind of a time jump, and then we get Archer coming out of the shower.
Finally.
He's
finally realized he's full of goo.
Yeah, he's been covered in bug goo.
He just liked all that goo on his face.
You know, he's coming around. Got to see shirtless Archer, I guess. You know,
You got to see BVD boxers.
This is where Trip's like, if you're gonna pick a new first officer, I think you should pick Malcolm, because I'm be busy in engineering. Plus, I don't want you throwing me in the brig if you had an issue. And he's like, come on, man, it's just temporary. I just had to I could not let her question my orders. I had to do something. You know, again, he's got a rationale. He's not completely. Sure. He like we've seen people possessed, we've seen people controlled, people under strong influence. This is a very mild influence, you know, where he's mostly himself, but he's kind of this exaggerated.
He's just obsessed with
the
insectoid babies.
He tells this story here about what his great grandfather in the eugenics war, who was fighting somebody, and they would fire. They would have had to attack these kids, and they agreed with the other commander that, you know, that in the
to
war
stop enough to get them out.
Yeah, there are rules even in war. He tells.
Well, it's true. There are. Not every country follows them, but there are kind of unwritten rules in some scenarios. Yeah.
Right. Well, I guess humans at least have their own rules for war. It's not like they had agreed with the Xindi. Okay, these are the rules of war, Xindi, and this is how we're going to do things. But you know, we have our code as humans. So that's what like Trip and a couple of the other crew keep saying, like, they would never do this for us. They would never save a ship full of our babies if they found them. And he goes, doesn't matter. We got to be better than them, you know. So you know, Trip kind of acquiesces. Next scene here is this shot here where we see like they're analyzing the Xindi insectoid ship, and it's Hayes giving like this battle simulation to Reed, which is basically, this is just the animatic of the fight that comes later in the episode, but it's been like no textures have been added yet. This is all this is.
Well, this is supposed to be like previous encounters and stuff like that, and they're looking for vulnerabilities and stuff like that. And of course, Malcolm has to be a bitch about it.
Of course, he's like, "Oh, you're playing your games.
And you're playing games while
the game saves the day.
Yeah,
I'm the tactical officer, not you." And he's like, "Come on, man! Like, I found something.
Like, we're on the same team. Like, shut up."
At least he apologizes here. But if he wasn't such a dick, he wouldn't have to apologize.
Yeah, he eventually wins Reed over here. He's like, "Look, if we attack their impulse manifolds, which are very thin here with torpedoes, we can take out their whole ship." And Reed finally is like willing to listen, you know.
And he's like, "Oh, that's a good observation.
Yeah,
sorry about that."
I always
Hayes is like, "Well, I won't punch you this time."
I always wondered in Star Trek, do other species not stress test their ships? Like, why do they always leave one?
I'll tell you right now, the engine
for one torpedo.
Yeah,
and our
the engine
humans
manifolds
just
are always
excellent
the
at
issue.
finding weaknesses. Like, What is
guess,
happening with everyone else in the fucking galaxy?
Well, it happens in other franchises as well. Like look at Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you keep building planet huge stations and yet you still have exhaust ports that are vulnerable? How do you do that?
Yeah, we're kind of led to believe that every spaceship has got some weakness.
Well, and logically that's sound. There's always every tank has a weakness. Every plane has a weakness, right? So it kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But
if you notice that in Star Trek, the Enterprise or whatever ship they're on will get hammered, just hammered with weapons fire.
And it's always like random fire. It's never
and then they turn
concentrated,
around
yeah.
and shoot maybe once, twice, and
Yeah,
the other
they're
ship
like,
is destroyed.
boom!
We polarized the hull, Kevin. It's all good. If we just polarize the hull,
It's all about polarizing the hull.
Yeah.
Which I think might be a metaphor for something, but I'm not totally sure. I'm gonna try it out and I'll let you know. I'll be like, hey, wifey, it's time to polarize the hull.
So here in the next scene, we got Trip comes to see T'Pol in her quarters.
I'm gonna get slapped.
Who's under guard here from Daniel Day Kim playing Corporal Chang.
He was in Voyager. He was in Voyager.
He was on Lost.
Yes, he was in Lost.
He was Jin on Lost.
I only watched the first season, so that's all I remember. Lost.
He was very good in that show. He's like, hey, I'm here for my Vulcan aromatherapy or whatever it is, and not aromatherapy, but whatever they do. Neural pressure. And Chang doesn't want to go for it, but eventually he's like, okay, well, it's fine. So he comes to see T'Pol and he's like, listen, he's gonna give all the antimatter away. And I couldn't believe he did all these things. So basically T'Pol's like, we need to do something about this now. We have to take action, right?
We can't run this ship on Vulcan candles. Come on.
Yeah. But Trip is Trip is the most loyal to Archer. That is for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense though.
We know that already. But this episode just reinforces that. Like, push comes to shove, he's going to try to side with him. Meanwhile, on the bridge, Reed is in command, and he comes across a Xindi insectoid ship that happens to fly into the system. And they're coming on.
And they happen to be on the same approach of the battle simulation from earlier.
And it has to look exactly like the fight that we saw in Major Hayes' room. Yes, without the textures added.
I was waiting for Mayweather to go, oh, I've already played this one.
Right. But in the time when they go to tactical alert, to the time Archer gets to the bridge, the Xindi ship's already destroyed. Reed has one of his flunky guys here working tactical while he's in the captain's chair. He says, fire 2 torpedoes, just like Hayes told me earlier to do. And that's kind of exactly what they do after a couple of phaser fires.
And we finally see Hoshi, who's mentioned like 4 or 5 times in this episode before this, but yet we don't see her on screen until like this moment.
She gets a couple lines in this episode, not much.
Eventually, yeah. But they were talking about how like Hoshi's like, trying to translate something and all this, and they keep mentioning her, but you never see her until like about halfway through the episode.
Yeah, which we find which makes sense that the insectoid language is more complicated than the others,
of course.
And so the ship, they're just completely destroying the ship because the Xindi insectoids were trying to create a portal to get away, some kind of jump thing. And by the time Archer gets here, he's like, it's just blowing up, Yeah. He's just like, you idiot, you destroyed them. They could have taken these babies, He's like, well, sir, like they were going to call the rest of the insectoids and give away our position and whatever. He's like, you dumbass. I can't believe you could do this.
And there was no like, oh, cool, you found a weakness. Great. That's going to come in handy later.
He even goes out his way. He's like, call up Major Hayes. He calls Major Hayes. He come to the bridge. He's like, you are relieved.
Well, I think he calls him to his ready room first, and then he says he's relieved or something.
Yeah. And everyone looking around the bridge, like Hoshi and Mayweather in particular, just going, is he serious? Is this happening?
But yet everybody thinks Archer's still okay.
Well, they're like, he's still the captain, so we have to do what he says, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then he tells Hoshi, and find out if you can set an all distress signal to all the insectoids at once. Okay, Hoshi? And she's like,
She's like, I haven't even translated this yet. What the hell?
But like, how bad of an idea is that? Like, let's tell all the Zindi where we are right now. You know, while they're us, who are the only thing between them and them destroying all of Earth. Like, we're the only ship in the fleet. There's this whole scene here where Archer's talking to Hayes about how he needs officers who obey orders, who do what they told. You know,
I need officers who respect the chain of command and can follow orders.
Yeah. You answered only to me, Hayes, and Hayes is like, I'm with you, man. I'm whatever you want. I'll totally do it.
Well, he's under orders. He's supposed to be, right? Like, so realistically, Hayes is doing what he's supposed to be doing. Like,
is it reasonable though for Hayes to be the captain of the ship?
No.
No. It doesn't make sense that he would be in
No,
command
the gunnery sergeant isn't the guy that you put in charge of the ship. Like, it isn't. Yeah.
Like he's Mayweather or even Hoshi would take command before him. Like it's even though
the problem is Archer keeps locking up people. So
yeah, true.
At this point, he's gonna have Bob from maintenance is going to be the guy that runs the ship.
But the fact that Hayes
is that if Hayes was in charge on the bridge, he would have destroyed that ship too.
Yes, of course.
Right. Not only that, he probably would have nuked the other site too, so he had nothing to worry about but going forward, right?
But the fact that
Hayes is about getting it done. Like, Hayes just wants to get this done and go home. Like, he's made it very clear over and over again. Well, he's not interested in all this politic crap that's going on.
I think that's also kind of what this episode is trying to say in an indirect way, is that, like, you know, Hayes is military, and Starfleet purely blindly following orders is not really the best way to go about being in space in Starfleet. You know, like, I think you need the chain of command, you need discipline and structure, but the captain is not a dictator. We saw that in a lot of episodes, like even original series, you know. Where Spock's like, you know, your authority is kind of limited, even if you're the captain, you know. It's kind of bigger than.
Well, the scene that's coming up with Phlox basically saying he's going to relieve him of command based on, you know, section so and so, blah blah blah, and then like he's like, oh well, I've already locked up people. You want me to lock you up too? And it's like, okay, I guess I'll walk away now.
Yeah. And then he calls one of the Makos, one of his private army.
Right. Yeah, because this is while Archer's loading up the very precious antimatter into the shuttle pod, and you know,
I feel you need more protective, like more PE stuff on, like this is a very volatile chemical, is it not? Like,
well, it's antimatter, so it's in magnetic casing. So
true.
If it touches anything that's real matter, it would just blow up. So
true.
So yeah, like it's.
I guess it really wouldn't matter if you had personal protective gear.
No, as long if that magnetic field fails,
if it fails, everybody's dead anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna blow up.
Yeah. True.
Anyway, so Trip's like, go to Phlox and get some medical scans, and you know he can make you. You know, he's like, you know, he goes, I'll after I give all this antimatter over, I'll come back and do the medical scans. They're like, well, no, you need to go now. And they kind of force the issue here on Archer. He gets so friggin' mad. And then he's especially at the Phlox. He's just like, it took Paul. I could see, but you know, he's just like so disappointed. He throws it on here to Archer, and then Archer's like, "Get the hell out of here!" And they kind of just look at each other awkwardly and stroll away. But when we see that they were secretly scanning him the whole time, you know,
something is afoot.
And when we're looking at we go to sickbay and the brain scan shows he's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. And Trips is like, what do you mean there's nothing wrong with him? How could there be nothing wrong with him?
Well, Tripp's known this guy forever. Like these guys have been friends for a long time. So like if anybody should be cluing in that there's something wrong, it's obviously Trip. Right.
Right.
So this whole episode doesn't make a lot of sense logically, but
yeah.
Anyway,
back here on the Zindi ship, where Archer and a couple of red shirts, I guess, are getting things going. They're like, "Hey, Captain, look up there!" And he sees like some of the babies are starting to hatch from their eggs here. I would not want this assignment if I was one of those guys.
Those are some hairy looking balls, eh?
Yeah, they're weird looking.
Someone had to say it.
So now Trip is going back to Tita Paul's quarters. He's like, I got a sore shoulder, Corporal Chang. Can you let me in again? He's like, no. Major Hayes said, don't let you in now. This is definitely not allowed.
And Reed is like, I think it's Reed, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Reed and Phlox are like sneaking
Reed
up
and Phlox
down the
are
hallway.
sneaking up, and he's got like a phaser out, and
yeah, and then they kind of tackle him, and then Phlox gives him a
Phlox
hypo.
is like, here's my hypo. Bing.
Yeah. They get his gun, and then they get into here with T'Pol, and T'Pol's like, we got to do something. They have a little secret meeting here in T'Pol's quarters. Why don't we just talk to Major Hayes? And Reed says there's a good chance he won't side with us, and if we get into a firefight like that, they need to try to retake the ship, and they can't take a chance that Hayes won't support them, which kind of Hayes kind of tells us later on in the episode he probably would not have, right? So
Yeah.
they would have stayed, especially after that speech that Archer gave him. I think that there was no chance he was going to do anything but do what Archer was telling him to do. You know,
he puts a new outfit on, and then he instantly gets it all dirty again.
Yeah, well, I like how he's like just looking up here at the ceiling, all this goo and stuff, and these other two guys are like, are you coming, Captain? You know, he's like, no, I need to stay here with the eggs or whatever.
We're gonna play with these hairy balls.
And they're like, whatever, we're out. Like, our shift's over in 5 minutes. And then we got down here in the armory, T'Pol in disguise, wearing a Starfleet uniform and a baseball hat.
Yes, this is actually a baseball hat from another episode.
Is it?
Remember when they went on that the desert planet, and started playing like a football version or whatever?
Oh yeah, well, we saw
That's
them in the
actually the
pilot
same
too.
hat, yeah.
Like they had,
they're in the pilot as well. Yeah,
yeah, but then they never wear them again, really.
the NX-01 ones. Yeah,
yeah. So she nerve pinches this one Mako, and then they get the.
I think this is
drop
the
off.
first time we've seen her in a uniform too.
Yeah,
technically. This uniform.
I think you're right.
Was she ever in? I don't remember. Anyway, we'll find out.
She will be eventually, won't she?
I don't think she ever is. I don't remember. Quite honestly,
she's in the mirror universe, so that's different.
She is in the mirror universe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I was like, why can't she have a uniform like everyone else? But anyway,
because she's not technically a member of the crew, according to him.
But she's the first officer, so
yeah,
you know. Anyway, so
still a better pick than Chakotay.
He's like, you may not wear the uniform, but I can still like charge you with insubordination.
Yeah, which is true.
Yeah. Anyway, so. Like they're like, hey, don't try it, man, and then they just they shoot this.
Like, don't try it, and then they shoot him anyway. Like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I think Trip says that was gonna leave a bruise. Well, it's awkward because they're gonna have to see these people after this whole thing too.
So far these Makos are pretty unimpressive.
Yeah.
Well, these ones anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, and then Trip and this other guy who I don't know, they hop into the transporter to head over to where Archer's in the Xindi ship. So yeah, they beam over here and they go for the run. They're trying to get to the bridge back on Enterprise with Reed and T'Pol, and they see the Makos are stationed by the turbolift. So they're like, well, we can't go that way. We're gonna have to go some kind of other way. And then that's exactly what they do. They go up like the Jeffries tube or something like that. And then, so back here, this is back on the Xindi ship. These two Makos are guarding things, and I guess this is Trip and that other guy. They open the door, they throw in the stun grenade, and then that goes off and stuns them all. Trip finally gets in there. He's seeing all these little Xindi insectoids crawl around on the floor. This was incredibly creepy, I thought. And then they can't find Archer right away. He's like, you don't need weapons in here. He's doing his mom voice.
Yeah.
You can't be,
He's like, shush, my alien ant babies. They're all sleeping.
Yeah, Captain. He's like, no, you can't be touching my ant babies. Go back to
CG ones start crawling all over them, don't they?
Yeah, they start. That comes a little bit.
Oh, is it a little later? Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right before Trip shoots him. Anyway, so they're on the bridge and they're like, hey, Armory, come in, or hey, whatever, come in. They're realizing some of the Makos aren't checking in. Then they storm the bridge. Reed comes in first, and T'Pol and everybody else.
And T'Pol at that point's like, do I shoot Mayweather?
No, they need Mayweather is a hero at this moment. He tackles Hayes and everything. For these two looking right, there's a Mexican standoff going on here on this bridge.
But look at how, if it just go back go back to Hayes for a second. Okay, look at his stance. He's got a military stance. Like he's good. He's ready to go. Now go back one more frame. Malcolm's dumb.
Oh, Malcolm.
Yeah. Malcolm's like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah. Well, he's less of a soldier. That's for sure.
Hey.
But
he's in charge of the goddamn armory.
meh.
Like he should be a little bit more professional. But anyway, all right.
Yeah. Doesn't.
T'Pol looks better than him.
Yeah. True. I think it's kind of a failing in Dominic Keating's performance, maybe. Anyway, then here, Archer just gone full blown obsessed with these Zindi insectoids. They're all coming.
Archer's got more goo on his face.
One of them starts crawling on him, and he's like, "Captain." He's like, "Don't worry, I love these Zindi insectoids.
These are all my babies. This one is named Fred."
Yeah, and Trip's just like, "This is too."
Do I shoot him or not? Maybe I should shoot him.
Yeah, he just kind of looks at him weirdly. They're all kind of crawling over Archer.
He's like, "Dude, do you know how many bugs you have on you right now?"
Yeah.
And he's like, screw it, I'm gonna shoot him.
Yeah,
And then they all run away.
All the babies run away. So here on the bridge, I think Hayes orders Hoshi to do something, and she's like, "I won't do that."
Yeah.
She's with the crew.
I like how Hayes is super calm though during all this. Like he's not getting agitated. He's just he's all smooth sailor. You know what I mean? Like
right.
It's where everybody else is starting to get a little edgy. He's just like,
This is when
I've had guns pointed at me before. You don't scare me.
This is when Mayweather then tackles him and brings him down here. Then they start shooting each other. A couple Starfleet guys get shot. Again, this is all in stun, so I guess they're all gonna be okay.
I know if your phaser's on stun, what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Why are you just standing
just
there?
Shoot it all up. Whoever's standing is the one that won.
Yeah. Just go in, guns blazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems like you should.
Why are you waiting? Yeah.
I think because they are their shipmates.
Shoot them all, sort them later. That's the way it should be.
And they would prefer that Hayes stands down on his own, but he doesn't. So they get the drop on him here. Take him away. And, then Trip calls up, says, "I got Archer. I had to phaser him. He was going a little crazy."
I had to shoot him. It was fine.
Yeah. And then back in sickbay, after a time jump, Phlox breaks it all down here for them that he was being controlled by that bug goo he got sprayed with earlier in the episode, and it was making him obsessed with all the bugs and whatever.
What he should have said is, "Why didn't I see this 2 days earlier?" I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And Hayes in particular is like, "What? How does this work? This is some weird Star Trek stuff, isn't it?" It sure is. Anyway, then
I was waiting for them all to grab their bellies and go, "Ha ha ha ha," like they used to do in the 70s.
Yeah, have a laugh here at the end of the episode.
Just a big
original series.
Yeah,
or
that would have been more
series,
original series. Yeah. And so T'Pol's like, "You guys, I want you guys to go back to work, back to being whatever it is you do when we're not fighting things."
And he's like, "Yes, ma'am. Gonna go back to my quarters and not do anything." All right.
Yeah, I'll be running Monday night fighting class or sparring class or whatever.
Getting back to my games.
If the movie sucks, you can come back to my games.
Yeah. Doing drills, I suppose. A little moment here between Hayes and Reed where he's like, "Why didn't you come talk to me?" And he's like, "I couldn't risk that you would side with the captain and go with him." He's like,
You should have figured out by now I'm a dick.
Yeah.
I always make the wrong decisions. I'm Malcolm.
Yeah. Exactly. Next scene here is just the final scene of the episode where Archer's recovering in his quarters, and with Porthos. Trip comes to see him here, and he's like, "Sorry, I had to phaser you and everything.
Sorry, I shot you."
He's like, "You had to do." Archer's cool about it all. Realizes he was not thinking straight, perhaps. The mission's what's most important. And then at the end here, Archer's like, "Okay, I gotta get back to work." And Trip's like, "How about you actually follow the doctor's orders and take,
How about you actually do something that you're told to do for once?"
Yeah. And take some rest." And
yeah, exactly.
And Archer relents and goes with it. And he's like, "Fine, I'll sit here and pet Porthos in the dark." And that's it.
Well,
all right.
that episode's all right, but I think it would have been better if no goo. Archer wants to help the insectoids to the same point, like to the point where it maybe it jeopardizes the mission a little bit, but he feels like it's important, and the crew considers mutiny, like led by Trip, and dealing with that. In this, there's no stakes. We know that Archer is mind controlled by something,
right?
So they're gonna wrap it up. But what if he wasn't? What if they just disagreed with his decision to help?
Exactly.
I think you're right. That's a better story, I think, to tell.
Unfortunately, 20 years ago, you weren't writing for Star Trek.
I think that more like leaving something unresolved here would have been better.
Yeah, it would have actually been.
And Voyager did that. Like Voyager had times where
Voyager did that all the time.
Chakotay would challenge Janeway, and they didn't necessarily get all wrapped or made up at the end or whatever, some of that.
Yeah, they always had kind of a bit of a jagged kind of alliance kind of thing going on. Yeah. All right, you want some fun facts quickly? I guess.
Fun factus.
We'll do a couple. All right. The insectoid console with the glass dome is a reuse of the stellar cartography set piece built for Star Trek The Next Generation. So there you go. Which was that little round dome thing. Not for the movie, though. The movie was different. Yeah. Daniel Day Kim, who played Corporal Chang, also played, I'm going to wreck this one, Gatala Rez in Star Trek Voyager's episode Blink of an Eye.
Skyship. Whatever. I don't know the whole song, but there's a song about skyships.
Okay. The NX-01 ball cap, worn briefly by T'Pol, is seen for the first time since Star Trek Enterprise's Desert Crossing. Oh, that was the name of it.
Oh, you knew it was a desert. Jody.
I didn't know
the episode though.
I knew what episode it was, but I didn't know the name of it. Okay, so Daniel Day Kim, Corporal Chang, was rumored to be up for the role of Hiroku Sulu in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek. The role
Hikaru Sulu?
Hikaru Sulu. Yeah. I screwed that one up hard. The role ultimately went to John Cho. So, the Makos Marine Major Hayes mentions being trained at West Point, the location of the United States Military Academy. Although the present-day wet Navy U.S. Marine officers are trained at a U.S. Naval Academy, it's certainly likely that Space Marines in the far future, such as Hayes, would be trained elsewhere. So there you go.
Yeah, well, I'm always trying to understand what happened in World War III and like how much of the United States even survived that. And,
I kind of like how they did that in Star Trek, though, because nobody's really ever totally explained it. So it's kind of up for just, let your head wander kind of thing.
Yeah, it was just awful. That's
awful.
all we get.
That's all you need to know.
Awful.
It was a bad war. A lot of people died.
And one last one. Well, actually, I got two. So Stephen Culp, who plays Major Hayes, previously played Commander Martin Madden, Jean-Luc Picard's new first officer in Star Trek Nemesis, but his scenes were deleted in the final
Good.
film.
I hate those scenes. Delete them forever.
You just hate that whole movie. But anyway.
I especially didn't like them bringing in a new first officer. Why would you need to?
Oh, because Riker was going to go get married.
But you have Worf. You got other people there.
Worf was busy doing stuff. And there's one other thing, which is kind of a spoiler a little bit. The Xindi insectoid shuttlecraft, for which Kevin likes so much, and now I do, was later used in Star Trek Enterprise's Azadi Prime. Is it Azadi Prime?
Azadi Prime.
Azadi Prime, which is actually the next episode. The interior of the shuttle was later revamped to serve as Sharon's ship in the series finale. So there you go. So they reused that one a couple times. Anyway, that's about all the fun and the fun facts we have right now. The other ones kind of suck. So
did you know that Star Trek predicted the iPad?
Star Trek actually, when it comes to technology, there's a lot of things that Star Trek actually inspired, such as the flip phone. That was inspired by Star Trek.
Bulky laptops.
Yeah. LCD panels. Another thing that was touchscreen interfaces.
Yeah,
there was a lot of stuff. Yeah.
It's called imagination, Sam.
Imagination.
And then you can sometimes leads to things. Okay, let's go into our ratings, guys.
All right. Why am I so big and everybody else is so small?
You were doing the fun facts. You were the
I
star
see.
of fun facts.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay. Hatchery, Jody. What is
this is a hard one for me. I'm gonna go 6. It was okay. That's about it.
With us.
Actually, 6.5. I'll do 6.5. Sorry. Adam, we don't know yet. He doesn't know where he is yet. Once he figures out where he is, he might give us a rating.
I don't know what this is. 7, 8, 7.5, I guess. Kevin?
I'll go 6.5 as well.
And we didn't get Davan either. And Sam in our comments says 6.5 as well. So
we're that's kind of, we seem to be somewhere between a 6.5 and an 8. With us, this has a 6.6 on IMDb. I guess it's an Archer episode. I guess.
Yeah. Archer to Paul trip. That's about it. Yeah. But I would say Archer mainly.
Yeah.
The Mayweather episode. He saves the day.
Yeah, it's all about Mayweather. He has a few lines, so you could make an argument.
Yeah, he's in this episode more than he's been in the rest of the series. I'm sure of it.
At least
he had a lot of screen time in this episode for sure.
Has he had any episodes this season? I don't think so.
No.
He's had like 4 scenes the entire.
I'm kind of okay with that though. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, him and Hoshi for that matter, but
yeah, they're not used at all.
But Dave, you know what? We have a lot of you and other people on this podcast in the channel. For which
the channel. Yes, absolutely, Jody. We are called Live Long and Podcast. If you're just joining us, we're called Live Long and Podcast, a Star Trek theme channel with all kinds.
You're
of
just
different
joining
stories.
us. You're late.
You're absolutely.
Like
really
you
can go back and check it all out. It's all there.
True.
We have different divisions. We have like several divisions, including this one, where it says, if you see with the red icon, that's our TV and movie reviews, where we look at the specific episodes, like Enterprise, like Deep Space Nine, like we've looked at the original series. We looked at all the movies. We talk about the new stuff. But we also sometimes do our more introspective stuff, whether it be trivia or debates, or different fun games or long format discussions. You'll sometimes do that with the blue color in our science division, or Locutors of Trek, our long format audio podcast run by Davan and Dave out of Nova Scotia, which they just had a whole segment on Saturday, and we were all there. Where
an absolute travesty.
Yeah, we rated in those S tier ranking systems.
Did we rate it though?
Well, we contributed.
Oh, okay. That sounds more accurate
to the ranking of all the Starfleet captains. It was our first time doing that. It took us 2.5 hours to rank about 50 captains, but we did it. And check that one out. It might take you a few sittings, but you'll get there.
I suggest
me too to be on it.
Yeah,
I suggest Scotch.
Yeah, Kevin left, came back, and it was still happening. So. And then our operations division, which does things like Star Trek radio theater, video games, and different segments. We got our edited version of the Final Frontier coming out soon. I one way or the other, I'm finishing this friggin' edit. It's taking me forever because of how many different settings there are. Like, they're on a planet, they're on a ship, they're talking to Jody, who's God. So it's a lot.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. So, but finally, it's going to come out this week.
What do I need in a starship, Dave?
What does God need with a starship, Jody?
I don't know.
We never quite answered that question.
True.
So check out all those great things on Live Long and Podcast. Deep Space Nine, right? We're not sure. We'll have to figure out when we're doing that, if we're doing that this week.
Because we got hockey tomorrow.
Yeah. And then right now, Star Trek Picard is on hiatus, but we just covered that whole 3rd season. You can also check out starting June 15th, will be Strange New Worlds Season 2 will be the next new show will be.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Yeah, it's gonna be good. We're part of a federation of podcasts, a united federation of podcasts. Live Long and Podcast is, including some great shows, which you can find on our website, ufpodcast.com, like the Super Mater Brothers podcast, which I do with Jeff and Jaemeel and Foster. Right now, covering shows like Survivor season 44. I think Sam commented earlier that Jody's guy was voted out of Survivor. Yes, he was.
Oh well,
He's not there.
you know what? In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter to me at all.
Right. That's what I thought. I thought so too, Jody.
Yeah.
And then Big Brother Canada 11. Which
what about my man with all the O's in it?
He's gone.
Hope. Oh man, I suck at this.
Hope was a
All right.
dope.
Hope was a dope.
Good
All right.
dancer though.
Good.
And and then soon we're gonna be covering Guardians of the Galaxy 3 on our Mary Mater Marvel Society, which you can find on that channel too. There's other great shows like Davan's got X-Rated, the X-Men the Animated Review Show. He does with Andre every Tuesday, talk about X-Men the Animated Series. Andre does the Graphic Histories podcast, long format interviews with people from TV and film and comic books. Hold Up, a movie podcast every second Wednesday with Davan and Murphy. This Wednesday, Jaemeel is joining them to talk about heist movies. And
heist movies, that's what it was. I was trying to figure out what it was they were doing this week. I forgot yesterday when I was talking.
They're doing
to,
heist movies.
Eamon.
Yeah. And then Eamon On Track, one of our newest channels in the Federation of Podcasts with Eamon Mater, who was just doing his 4th episode last night with Jody, talking about Nirvana's Nevermind, the second album by that band.
Yeah. He's very insightful on music. I'm actually quite surprised with him.
Yeah, that's a very fun podcast where all the guests get to kind of teach him or show him music.
Oh no, he was doing really good with it.
I think he's familiar with Nirvana and stuff.
I would hope, yeah. But
check out other episodes of
it's cool.
On Track. Maybe Kevin will go on one day.
Maybe.
Who's to say?
Wow, that was
maybe he will. What about KBBBL? That's on hiatus right now.
But why is it on hiatus?
I think Baker couldn't do it anymore or something. So
that's unfortunate.
And Davan was feeling like maybe he's got too many irons in the fire, and I think he might be right. So
yeah.
I'm like, you can always come back to it, man, when you're ready.
It seems to be a Mater thing.
Yeah. And then the Hellbound podcast, Michael Chan, Alex Blackburn every Wednesday, talk about horrors. That's the other Federation podcast I forgot to mention. Okay, well,
but equally as important.
Equally as important, of course.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, let's go out on a quote here.
Oh, I guess you want to know what next week's episode is, eh?
Oh yeah, what is next week's episode?
Well, that's a good question.
Azadi Prime. They're finally getting there.
It is Azadi Prime, actually. Yes. The crew discover the Xindi weapon and plans to launch a suicide mission to destroy it, with Archer insisting that he be at the helm. But when Archer is captured, he must convince Degra. Oh, remember Degra? And the other Xindi leaders that humanity is no threat to the Xindi. Meanwhile, the Xindi launch the heavy attack on Enterprise that leaves the ship defenseless and almost destroyed. But it's okay because they're going to get restocked next Tuesday.
Why does Archer have to be at the helm? Why can't he let Mayweather do his job?
Because Archer is on a suicide mission to begin with.
Okay. Yeah. His whole job is to fly the ship. Let him fly.
Anyway, now we can end it.
All right.
We've done everything we're supposed to do.
All right, let's play the audio clip and we'll see you next time.
Go back to the ship. You have to come with us. Captain. All right.
Live on podcast, everybody.